Welcome back to another episode, guys, here on Reload Crypto. Today we're going to hop into the charts. We're going to talk about this crazy price action that we saw yesterday. We're going to break it down for you. I'm going to give you the reasons why this happened if you're not already in the know on that. I'm going to catch you up with what the outlook is for the next couple of weeks here. And we're going to make sure you guys know what's going on so that we can crush this bull run together. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hop in and get these daily videos with me. Let's get it. What's up, guys? We're going to start out with some news today. You may have heard, you may have not heard. So the SEC, I guess 15 hours ago, they were saying the SEC is rumored to be reconsidering the spot Ether ETF denial. There was a post that Eric Balchunas made about his odds for the ETF approval. It was 25% for quite some time, and he's moved it up to 75%. I'm not sure if this article came out before or after the news came out that the SEC had reached out to the filers and told them to update their paperwork. I think they said immediately or expedite it or something like that. So obviously there's what would the reason be for them to speed the process up? The 23rd, 2 days from now, is the day that they have as a deadline to either approve or deny. I believe ARK or VanEck ETF, and then a couple days after that is it's ARK and VanEck are the first two applicants. There's several applicants, but ARK and VanEck are the first two. So in the next few days here, that's the deadline for those two. But similar to the Bitcoin ETF, if they approve one and not, all of them, it's like they're picking winners and losers because, with ETFs, it's all based on when it's available. Usually, winner takes most when it comes to ETFs. So, quite a bit of, euphoria in the market about the ETF rumor here for Ethereum, 18% amid new hope for spot Ether ETFs. There's quite a bit of information here in these articles if you want to read through them. I'm not going to do that here because I want to get along to the charts here. But right here it says Safeart made it clear that approved 19B-4S must be accompanied by signed off S1 registration statements for the spot Ether ETFs to launch. So he said it could be weeks or even months for the S1s to be signed off, even if the 19B-4Ss are approved this week. So even if they were to approve, I guess, the ETF in 2 days here, it's not necessarily going to be trading for some time, but I do think that if they do approve the ETF, obviously that's going to be a large catalyst for the market. We've already seen Ethereum up like 22% as of right now that I'm making this video on this news alone, so it would be quite interesting to see what the market does if this ETF does get approved. That being said, one other big piece of news here. So Gala Games was exploited. The hacker that exploited Gala was able to mint $23 million worth of Gala tokens. Then they went to Uniswap and started offloading those tokens. I believe they were able to sell around $2.4 million worth of the tokens prior to the account being blacklisted by Gala. So they were unable to move or sell the tokens. So interesting information to know that Gala can blacklist addresses so they can essentially, freeze people's tokens so that you can either trade or not trade, which is quite interesting. But in this, obviously, situation, it's a good thing that they have that capability, or else this would have been, extremely bad for Gala in terms of price action. That being said, these tokens were created and they were sold on the market. So something to keep in mind for all the Gala holders out there. Probably not going to be something that inspires a lot of confidence from investors as we go into this bull cycle. So just something to keep in mind. Gaming tokens haven't really seen, their pump yet. So if you are holding Gala, I'm not saying, to dump it or, whatever. I'm just saying if this is something that concerns you, you do still have an opportunity to shift into other projects that don't get hacked and have, millions of dollars stolen from them. That being said, let's go ahead and move on to the charts here. So we're going to hop into the Bitcoin chart on the daily here. As we can see, we've had these two big green vector candles printed within close proximity of one another. Let's jump over to this chart that I had used the other day as a reference. This is the Bitstamp chart. So as I had said, we looked like we had this inverse head and shoulders pattern playing out, and what appears to be the case is that's exactly how it played out. So we had this break to the upside on this green vector candle. We broke through the 13 and the 5 EMA as well as the 50 EMA and all the way up through the volatility cloud and all that. Then the following day, we kind of chilled out a little bit. Day after that, had a little bit of a move up. A couple more days of just kind of chilling out at this line of resistance here at $67,000. We did wick above it all 3 days here, but we were unable to close a daily candle above that ultimately. And then yesterday, of course, with all this big news, the market exploded and we saw this second push up in the price here. We are now sitting at pretty heavy resistance right near all-time high. So we expect to likely probably consolidate here at this point, or we may see this bullish price action continue today or on the 23rd. So maybe today's the 21st, so we may see a cool down here for 2 or 3 days like we saw right here. And then this, a next push up, the target being somewhere between $80,000 and $90,000 for this breakout on this move. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. I'll be keeping you guys up to date with what's going on there. Just real quick to give you another indicator here on things to keep an eye on for these charts. So here on the weekly chart for Bitcoin, we see this red, candle to the downside here. We went down around 4% that week, and this next week we were up 7.8%. But you see how the candle started and then closed way above the body of this red candle. This is called a bullish engulfing candle, and that ultimately is a bullish sign showing a reversal in the market and ultimately indicates that the price action will likely continue to the upside. It's not, set in stone rule, but in this case, especially on the weekly chart, which is a very strong indicators for price action on the weekly chart in terms of patterns, they're much stronger than patterns on a daily chart, for example. So we did see, obviously, this price action has continued. We are up again this week so far, 7.7% about. So likely we will see continued bullish price action there, but I will keep you guys posted on that. Jumping over to Ethereum here. Apologize, my computer blue screened, and so I had to restart it. I'm glad that the footage from before actually was saved. Anyway, so we had this big weekly candle to the upside, obviously, 22% as of right now, which is beautiful to see. My portfolio is largely Ethereum, so I was very happy when this happened. Obviously, this is largely due to the ETF news that came out. There's no real indicators in the chart that would tell us that this was something that was going to happen. So this is another reason why, technical analysis is important. But fundamental analysis and keeping up with the news and what's going on in the space is also important. So, knowing that this upcoming, approval or denial date was on the horizon here, it would have been, an opportunity to speculatively get, some positions into Ethereum if it isn't something that you're already holding in your portfolio. That being said, we've had this breakout here with this daily candle. Big green vector candle broke through the 50-day EMA here, which was something that we had been struggling 1-2 times before, really 3 times here. We did see a little bit of a rejection here. I imagine if that news had not come out, we likely would have seen a move back down again after this rejection here from the 50-day EMA. This is actually something that I was tracking when it happened here, this bump to the 50-day EMA and a rejection. I was waiting for a move down to around $3,000 to actually purchase some more Ethereum, so unfortunately missed out on that, but I did buy a little bit right before this move up to add to my position. So that being said, we're pushing up close to these highs here. As we could see, we've so far had this wick up to the local high that we just set at $3,820. So that seems to be the location of resistance right now. I would say that that is largely because of these wicks here to the downside from before. when we had this big push up to around 4,000. So likely we will. I mean, today we could just blow right through that, to be perfectly honest. It's hard to say what will happen next year with this Ethereum ETF being speculated about. We could see a push up to $4,000 again. I imagine we won't be breaking $4,000 until we have, an approval or denial kind of answer. Obviously, if we see a denial, we'll likely see, the price fall back down. I would imagine to about $3,200 in that range. Maybe only to about $3,650 though. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'll keep you guys updated. But that will be, in the case of a denial. If we see an approval, I imagine we may see a large push up and likely test this $4,100 range, may even push up to $4,200, or ultimately test the all-time high up here at around $4,800. So I imagine probably we would just see a move to about $4,200, between $4,200 and $4,500, where we'll run into some heavy resistance in this range here, where there was a lot of volume in the previous bull market top. So probably not going to be setting a new all-time high, right away. But of course, if the ETF is approved, it's really hard to say what will happen next. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that for you guys as well. I'm just going to run through a list of some coins here and just kind of break down the price action that I'm seeing. So from Matic, yesterday we've had this push up with the rest of the market. It was about a 10% move up. Ultimately, we ran into the 50-day EMA and was rejected. So maybe we'll see continued price action to the upside, but this to me is not a beautiful sign. It doesn't scream bullish price action, when I'm looking at that. Solana, this is a trade that I had set up, I believe, in one of the videos. Another inverse head and shoulders pattern that we had here. Push up to the upside. Ultimately, this trade did not hit completely yet. It may continue to push up after, just a little retrace of a day here. So if you are in this trade, if you did take it when I had posted it, I believe it was in one of the videos that I had put up. If not, so be it. You may consider holding this position. You may consider closing it and just taking the profit that you do already have and walking away. That being said, I'm going to leave this here to see how it does play out. I do have a journal where I keep track of all the trades that I am watching. So likely what's going on here is people are selling their Solana to put money into Ethereum for speculation based on this Ethereum ETF. Thus, the negative 3.6% on Solana and the positive 3.1% on Ethereum here on the day so far. Near protocol, similar situation, inverse head and shoulders here. We saw this move up, pushing the local highs here. A little bit of a kind of consolidation right here. I'm sure it won't be long, and we'll be seeing near protocol break through this local high at around $9. And test the next level above that. I don't have all the price data here. This is a Coinbase chart, but I imagine that we will be seeing a breakout relatively soon here on Near Protocol. The price has been doing very well for Near. Moving on to ICP. This trade that I had put here for ICP, it did complete, no problem there, which is great to see. But anyway, we had this bounce off of the 200-day EMA. I spoke about that in one of the recent videos. Push up, bounced off the 50-day EMA, got a rejection there. Ultimately, we wicked above it, but we were unable to close the daily candle above it successfully. Thus, we saw a fall back down, bounce on the 13-day EMA, and then with the rest of the market, obviously yesterday, big push up, about 7.5%, closing above the 50-day EMA, which ultimately it gives me the confidence that we will likely hold that unless the market turns very bearish. Obviously, we may wick beneath it, but I imagine we'll be holding that and likely moving up from there or ranging. I mean, we're likely going to range inside this between $12.33 and $15.60 area for a little bit of time here before, ultimately we break out of there. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. Render, excellent price action here. We've had this W formation, also known as a double bottom, came up towards the neckline here, had a little bit of a consolidation period here, and now we're seeing some push to the upside. So I imagine we'll be testing this local high at some point here soon, and may see a breakout from there, and ultimately entering price discovery for Render. Celestia price has been breaking down for some time now, as we know. Currently, we are just kind of seeing consolidation at this level that it's at right now. I did say that we'll likely see a fall to about $7.50. That being said, the current market conditions, it looks like we may not see that, but we will be keeping an eye on that, because I do believe that is a possibility for Celestia, but it will largely depend on the market conditions as a whole. Injective, similar trade that I had shown you guys here. This was not hit, but the first take profit level was hit. If this is a trade that you got into, fantastic. I believe that we may have, I don't know, I had posted this one after this move up here, or it was like on the same day, so you wouldn't have been stopped out if you did take this trade on the day that it pushed up, which I did say wait for a bullish move. So if you are in this trade, fantastic. If not, I will be continuing to post trades like this for you guys. Ultimately, we saw Injective push above the 200-day EMA and the 50-day EMA yesterday, with the daily close above those. So with the green vector candle breaking both of those, that's a great thing to see. We are currently holding that 200-day EMA as well. So obviously we may see a wick beneath it today, but I do think we will likely close the day above that, holding that. If it does, that will show strength and likely a bullish continuation to the upside. If we cannot hold the 200-day EMA or the 50 EMA, that's going to be pretty bearish for Injective, but we'll be updating you guys tomorrow on that if you're not watching the charts yourself. Here we are on SWE, similar kind of move as Celestia, big breakdown. We fell down all the way to about $1, a little under $1 here, and we've just kind of been consolidating it for the past few days here. We did see a little bit of a move back up after it fell, about 10% beneath $1. We saw support right here on this swing high from the move back up in January. So good to see support there, and nice to see the price moving back up. But ultimately, we're still beneath the 200-day and the 50-day EMA. So there is a little bit of weakness there in terms of the price action. For Say Network, similar scenario to the SWE network here. We bounced not really on any major point of interest, close to this swing high from back in December, but ultimately holding the 200-day EMA at this point. But again, unable to break back above this 50-day EMA. Not really a big vote of confidence in my opinion. So we will likely see weak price action from Say for the next couple of days here. That's okay. Not everything can pump at the same time. Obviously, the price did move up yesterday, 10%, almost 11%, but ultimately was unsuccessful in breaking back above the 50-day EMA, which would have been a sign of bullish price action. Moving on to a cash, similar situation as Render and Near Protocol. A lot of these AI DPIN projects seem to be following similar price action. Currently kind of a double bottom formation, aka a W formation there. Push up, same consolidation, same positive price action, basically a carbon copy of all these other AI DPIN plays, the larger cap ones. So we will likely see this ultimately push again against this local high. I believe that's also the all-time high, yes, for a cash. So if we do break this all-time high, we'll be up in price discovery, which would be nice for any cash holders out there to enjoy. Moving on to Ondo here. We saw this big push up, similar to what Beam's price action had looked like when it had set a new all-time high here. Wick up, kind of bounced. Basically, we're rejected at the same point that we were last time, right around $1. We did make it above $1, but ultimately there was a sell-off. So after moves from around 25 cents up to $1, you can expect there to be sell pressure at that level. That's a 4x in just a short period of time, couple of months here. So people are going to be taking profits on these plays, but we are still holding the 50-day EMA very well as the 13-day EMA, and currently the 5 EMA as well, but we just managed to break back above that with the candle yesterday. Actually, we held that here even as well. So that is pretty bullish for Ondo. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Price action is looking decent, but ultimately this blue vector candle shows that there is less volume than there was back when this green vector candle hit. So this could be a stopping volume candle, and ultimately we may see a little bit of a drawdown here towards the 50-day EMA again, or a bounce at about 85 cents. So we'll be watching that. AOS, similar situation, like I said, with render, near, and a cash. Double bottom, aka a W formation here. This one is actually holding up much better than a cash and render are. There hasn't really been, I mean, there was a little bit of this drawdown here, but it seems to just be trending up, which is very nice to see. I'm holding a little bit of AOS, so love to see that. Mina, ultimately, price action looking pretty weak here. It needs to catch the attention of the market again, but it is holding up, fairly well at around 70 or above the 73 cent mark here. So nothing bad here. It's just not extremely bullish price action at this time, but ultimately it will have its day as soon as it can get back above these 2 points of interest here, the 50-day and the 200-day EMA. XLR, also beneath the 50 and the 200-day, but we did see these bounces here, similar to where we saw the bounce back here. So this is good to see. After we broke beneath this point of interest, we broke above, and now we have held that point of interest with the candlestick yesterday. So ultimately, if we can stay above this 94-cent range, that would be great. That'll show that we are holding these levels, and hopefully we'll push up from there. But regardless, being at these levels allows me more time to load up on XLR. It's one of my favorite plays here, so it will have its time for sure. So Osmosis came down, obviously, similar to SWE and SAY, as well as XLR, off this big push to the upside. Obviously, you're going to have some selling. We were way down at 22 cents, and we pushed up to almost $2. So a little bit of a sell-off here. We've managed to fall down to around the 78 cents level was where we saw this bounce. Ultimately, we've pushed up to the volatility cloud here, bounced off the bottom of the volatility cloud. So not majorly bullish, but at least the price is consolidating in this range now. This is another good protocol that I am, I have a good opportunity here, and, anybody else who's interested in it, to pick up tokens at discounted rates. Looking over at PITH here, so these are some levels that I had marked out, and the price, as we can see, bounced literally right where I figured, is what I've said here. I was sending a screenshot of that to a friend of mine. But as we could see, big drawdowns, similar to some of these other tokens that had big run-ups. And we had this big unlock in PITH, as some of you may know. So we initially saw a break beneath this first level that I had marked out here, and then a break back above. Ultimately, on the day that the day before the tokens were to be unlocked, we saw a large sell-off, 13% sell-off, and then on the day that the tokens were actually unlocked, we did see the continued fall at first in the early hours of the day down to this 35.7 cent level, or 35.8 cent level or so, where we ultimately came back up. Extremely bullish day. The price went up 21% on that daily candle, or closed at that. But some charts were showing it was like 36% or 32% move. So excellent, pull up there for PITH. I love to see it. We have reclaimed the 5 and the 13 EMA there. So if we can continue to see a push up, we may see some serious moves coming out of PITH here. I think people realize that the tokens that were unlocked, they didn't go to third parties who are going to be selling them on the open market. So that is good to see. I'm sure PITH will recover very nicely in the days to come here. Check out Pendle here. Looks like we've had a nice push back to the upside here from Pendle. This was one that I had posted a trade on as well that did successfully play out. But Pendle, of course, is a Ethereum tokenization protocol. So naturally, with Ethereum performing so well, we're going to see moves up in Pendle as well. Flux is currently sitting between the 50 EMA and the 800 and 200 day. We did not make it through the 50 EMA yesterday, but ultimately it's been consolidating very nicely in this range. So at some point we will see a break to the upside, I imagine, and price will retest these local highs at around $1.60 here, which went as high as $1.78. So likely that will be coming soon for Flux. Alt layer, This is another one that I had posted a trade on. If you did take this trade and you had the stop loss set where I had recommended, ultimately you would have got stopped out on this candle in the yesterday. But of course, if you hadn't set the stop loss right there, you would be up on this trade right now. The first take profit level would be hit, and we are headed for the second one. So if anybody did take that trade, fantastic. You should be enjoying some nice gains. If not, that's fine. I'll be posting more trades like I mentioned before. Hedera, price action's looking pretty standard here, holding the 50-day EMA as well as the 5 and the 13 EMA. Not too much to comment on there. Track our Origin Trail. We're seeing a break today back above the 50-day EMA here. This is another AI play. Showing some weakness compared to other AI plays, but it doesn't really have as much attention surrounding it as some of these other tokens do. Rollbit, this is one that we've seen finally kind of has stopped its fall here at around 7.5 cents. We've had some consolidation for the past couple of days here, and the price has come up. It was up earlier this morning. It's 8:20 this morning for me. I've been up all night, again, as usual. But we have fallen back down here a little bit. So likely, we will see, this would be resistance that we ran into here at around 8.7 cents. So we will likely see the price continue to the upside after such a long fall. Buyers obviously have come in. That's why the price has held so well right here at 7.5 cents or so. Goldfinch, this is another one that's just consolidating here. It recovered nicely after the dip in the market, but now we're just kind of chopping sideways here right above the 50-day EMA. Price action looks great. Very soon, I'm sure we'll see another move up from the RWA plays. Synesis 1, this is another one that has come down after a massive move to the upside. It did over 100x from the bear market low. It's just been oscillating between the 200-day and the 50-day EMAs here, but we do have a green vector candle showing today breaking this 50-day EMA. So we may finally see Synesis 1 pull back to the upside, which would be fantastic. This is another one that I am holding as a speculative play. GameSwift, this is another one that has had a massive drawdown. Ultimately, we've been consolidating in this range for a couple of days here, but we are seeing a negative 4% candle on the day, so we'll see what happens with that. Ultimately, the lowest that I would see this falling is around 18.3 cents. I will be very upset if it does fall that far, but the possibility does exist. This is a play that I'm very confident in, and I do think it will do very well in the bull market. So if we do fall that low, it'll be a great chance for me to accumulate more tokens at cheap prices. Toncoin, this is the Telegram token. The price has been performing very well. Not looking super bullish right now, but we did have this bounce off of the volatility cloud here, and we'll see what happens at the end of today. But pretty parabolic move to the upside here since February. Bit of a drawdown with the rest of the market, but it recovered very nicely, much better than most of the market did. Avalanche, green vector candle, break through the 50-day EMA. We were holding the 200-day EMA. Well, we had fallen beneath it at some point, but we broke back above it. Bounced, rejected off the 50-day EMA, but now we have broken back above those, so we'll see what happens for AVAX in the coming days. But I imagine at some point here soon we will be testing the $45 range, so that would be the local target I would set for Avalanche there. Polkadot, similar story, broke above the 200-day and the 50-day EMA, which is great to see. Likely we will see a push back up towards this 800-day EMA coming very soon. Just a couple more tokens left here. Bitcoin Cash has been trending to the upside. Little W formation here, which is great. I think we will likely run into some resistance right around the $600 mark, $590 range. And then we'll see what happens when we get there. But Bitcoin Cash is a token that I'm quite confident in personally. It does get a lot of use, and it doesn't get very much love. So this is one that I am holding, and I believe will do very well in the bull run. It's nice to see some positive price action out of it. Stacks, this is a DeFi play for Bitcoin, layer 2 on Bitcoin. We saw a little bit of a drawdown here with the rest of the market, of course. Bounce at the swing high from back in January, and price is finally starting to curl back to the upside. So we'll see if we can break this 50-day EMA when we get close to it. Arbitrum is having a good day today due to the Ethereum news past couple days here, but ultimately the price action has been very weak over these past couple of weeks here, so no pun intended. But we are breaking above the 50-day EMA here, printing a blue vector candle, which likely will turn green if the volume can stay up for the rest of the day here, so we will check back on this tomorrow. The graph performing similar to the rest of these AI coins. We are back above all the moving averages, which is great for the graph, and we have kind of seem to be holding this level here at around 33 cents. So if we can hold that and find support there, likely we will continue to see price move to the upside. Fetch AI in a similar position as the graph, kind of consolidating at this price range here and struggling with this resistance at about $2.60. So if we could see a break above that, we will likely test these highs here around $3. And if we break above that and then a break above the local high, we'll be in price discovery for Fetch. So something that we will keep an eye on. Obviously, we know the ASI merger is coming soon, so that news when it hits the market could be a large catalyst for Fetch. So that is positive to know. IMX, kind of, I'm not sure really what to say here with this price action. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it does look like we may even see kind of a head and shoulders pattern play out here. Probably not, but typically with a head and shoulders pattern, you see a similar move to this and then a fall back down. So I don't know why we would necessarily see that from IMX, but the possibility, I guess it can't be ignored. But I will say there have been a lot of patterns similar to this that are printing on charts that don't ultimately play out with a negative move to the downside. So something to keep an eye on, but we may ultimately see a fall to bounce off this 800-day EMA, which likely will kind of start to move up in these coming days here, but that possibility does exist. I would say that probably about a 25% chance. It's not likely. I've heard similar things said about Link here with that head and shoulders pattern, but this does not really look like a head and shoulders pattern to me. Ultimately, price action on Link looks great. We've had this positive news come out, break above the moving averages, and we are holding above the moving averages here. So just need to see price action, find support on this level here at about $16.60. So we will keep an eye on that. If we do see support there, likely we will continue to push up in the coming weeks and days here. So just ran through this chart here, different tokens for you guys. I made a list that I'm going to do in every video. This one may have taken some time. I will get better at the speed rounds as we go. If there's any tokens you want me to add to that list, just drop a comment, let me know. If you did enjoy this video here, if you did learn something, if you appreciate me going through the charts and sharing my opinion, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing these every day, or I'm aiming to do them every day. Sometimes life does happen and I do miss a day here and there, but the goal is to do them every day. But I appreciate you guys joining me here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and have a good one. Bye-bye.